Right, hey guys, it's been a minute. Obviously, I've moved. I'm teaching more in person, or starting to at least, and then I've also transitioned to like a new job. So a lot of new beginnings happening for me, and they're finally all meshing together. So it's been fun and a different routine to get used to. So I've had to step back from recording for a second, but that doesn't mean I haven't been wanting to or thinking about fun flows to do, especially with like the suggestions I've been getting. So we're coming back strong. Hopefully I can keep this up. Should be able to. So definitely want you to hit like, subscribe if you're new. If you're following along and you have been with me through the break, I definitely appreciate that too. So we'll keep it going today. We're gonna do just a simple slow flow is what I would call it. Just kind of my favorite stretches that I'll do. Not necessarily when I don't want to do yoga during the day, or maybe if I'm too busy or my body hurts from something else I've done throughout the week and I still want to stretch. This is kind of my go-to thing for that. So I thought I would share it all with you too. Shouldn't need any props. Maybe definitely suggest you bring them if you are used to them. Blocks might be handy. I'll try to remember to cue using the blocks during any of the transitions that we do work through. But for the most part, I'm gonna try to have us hold the poses, kind of marinate into them to kind of open up the tissues, all that good stuff. So hopefully it'll feel good for you, and what you like, please continue doing. What you don't like, take away during the flow. Just make it personalized for you as much as you can. So we will get started in child's pose. So in our child's pose, of course, we want the knees out wide, hips down towards the heels. They definitely don't have to touch the heels. That's just the general direction to go. And just visualize melting your chest towards the mat. Let the fingers ride up towards the top of the mat as well. Eventually those forearms, possibly those elbows, will touch the ground here too. If you do have the space and your head is on the mat, go ahead and stay still. Or I like to massage the third eye, so maybe you shake your head from left to right here, up and down if you can. And just settle in. So like I said, we'll try to marinate in some of these poses. Child's pose is one of my favorite ways to start. I like to personally focus on cultivating presence here. So close your eyes if you do feel comfortable doing so. Let the palms get heavy onto the mat. And just take a big inhale, lengthening out the side bodies. Once you get to the top of that inhale, try your best to hold it for 1, 2, 3. Exhale, let it go. And again, your biggest inhale, really expand the diaphragm. Feel yourself opening up throughout the body here. Maybe as you inhale, the fingertips push further into the mat as the palms float up into space. And at the top of that inhale, try to remember to hold for 3, 2, 1. Sigh on out. Exhale, let the palms float back to the ground. And again, we'll go with this for a few rounds. So I'll try my best to not cue as much so you can kind of hone in and listen to your own body, your breath here. But just remember, try to fill up those inhales as far as you can today. Hold for as few seconds that you can. And then exhale, audible sigh out, let it all go. I think and continue going with that for a few rounds here. I think the special thing about practicing at home, right? It's just you and the comfort of your own home. So go ahead and experiment. If you don't like closing your eyes in class, maybe you feel uncomfortable letting out an audible exhale. I definitely was that person too, and I would be lying to say if I still am not that person sometimes in class. So I really like to practice those steps that I don't necessarily like doing in class in my own home. So hopefully you feel that way too, or hopefully I can help you kind of open up those doors here. So let's do one more big inhale here. Hips are still heavy. Fingertips pushing into the ground. Exhale, the audible sigh out. Beautiful. So we'll stay in this child's pose. We're going to go what I personally call lazy thread the needle. So let's keep that right forearm on the ground. I guess you can push that right forearm up a little bit. Keep that right hand on the ground. You'll inhale the left arm out into space. And then as you exhale, you're simply going to thread it across the chest here. So we'll keep those hips heavy. That left temple might possibly touch the mat. If your head's still a little bit further from the ground, go ahead and try to bring the right palm under it as well. Really just try to shift some weight into this left shoulder blade. Feel it opening up. Let those sit bones help you out here too. So maybe use that right knee to nudge a little bit more weight over to the left side. Keeping the eyes closed if you feel comfortable doing so. And just focus on breathing into the areas that we're trying to stretch out. So if you really, were to sit down and think about it, how often are you focusing on creating space or awareness around your left shoulder blade specifically, right? So with this time that we have now, with the moments that we're currently in, go ahead and try to inhale and visualize that breath going in and around that shoulder blade. And exhale, let it go. Beautiful. Biggest inhale here. And exhale, let it go. Last inhale here to unwind. So we'll bring that left hand to the sky, and then we'll exhale to switch sides. So now that right hand's gonna float up towards the sky. Then as you exhale here, we're gonna thread that through across towards the left side of the mat. We're definitely off the mat here. Again, that left hand, or that left palm rather, is always there for a pillow if the head is a little bit further from the ground. And kind of just going through those same motions here. Maybe you can notice the difference of the tightness that your shoulder blades are experiencing versus the left. So we've opened up the left a little bit. We've really sat in. We've used our own weight to create some more space. So just focus on that on our right side here too. Just letting that right top of the hand really fall towards the ground here. Maybe experimenting with pushing more and more weight over towards the right shoulder blade. Opening up and expanding on the back side here. Beautiful. Big inhale again. Really visualize that breath going towards the right shoulder blade. And you exhale. Perfect. Big inhale. Exhale, let it go. The last inhale here to unwind. So we'll unwind that arm towards the sky. Then as we exhale, it's going to come back towards the top of the mat. And just come to that child's pose here for a moment again. I really like to play in my child's pose here. So I don't necessarily have my head on the ground. Maybe the chin can go towards the mat. But I like to find some swaying motions, kind of finding a lateral stretch, a lateral movement, you could say. And then what we'll do here, this is kind of a nice back relief, a nice, hip opener transition. When you inhale, you'll come into a tabletop with the knees still wide. And then as you exhale, let those hips drive towards the ground. Keep the big toes together if you can, and you'll gaze up towards the sky here. Beautiful. Inhale back into that child's pose. Exhale, hips heavy. One more time here. Inhale, roll forward towards the top of the mat. Let the gaze go towards the sky. And then you'll exhale once more back into that child's pose. So this will be our last inhale back into that funky transition. So hips heavy towards the mat. We're gonna stay right here. So go ahead and exhale and let the feet fall towards the ground. I don't like to be very specific sometimes because I know our bodies are all different, but your feet should definitely be off the mat. Let them splay out as far as they can today. And we're just gonna marinate in here. So if this is too much for you, please come down to the forearms here. Or if you wanna lay on your belly all together, you can. But if you wanna kind of play with this, I love doing this just to, again, start bringing awareness to the lower back. Maybe you gaze over the right shoulder here towards the right feet, the right foot. Inhale back to center, maybe gaze up towards the sky. And then you'll exhale, shift that gaze over towards the left side of your space. Beautiful, big inhale back to center, and then we'll exhale belly to mat. We're gonna find our Sphinx pose here. So in our Sphinx pose, you want the tops of the feet really pushing into the ground, and you wanna find a pulling action with the forearms. So the forearms are gonna be really pushed into the mat or the space that you're in today, and just imagine like gripping up towards the front of that space. So your chest is shining through, you're stretching out your collarbones here. You want the spine, or the neck rather, to stay nice and straight as well. So just find a nice gaze towards, probably right in between your hands here. That's where I find a good gaze so my neck will stay nice and straight. And we're just breathing. So keep with that. This isn't a passive pose by any means. I mean, you can definitely make this passive, but we're really trying to stretch and get into the body. So kind of try to make this as active as you can today as you keep that pulling action towards the top of the mat. Beautiful. And we'll be here just for a few moments. I know in this pose specifically, I like to roll out my neck. So maybe you do that here as well. So let your inhale shift the gaze towards the sky. And then as you exhale, the chin will eventually come back to the chest. Do a few rounds going counterclockwise and then clockwise. I won't cue you when to switch. I think this is kind of more of an internal thing. I just like to remind my students or my followers here to make sure you do both sides. I don't care if you do both sides 10 times, 12 times, 2 times, just make sure you make it symmetrical. Feeling free, of course, to stop in any place that you find any kinks today. Once I'm finishing up that last round here, we'll gaze up towards the center of the mat here. Big inhale. And then we'll exhale again to find that child's pose just for a moment. Let the hips get heavy. And then immediately that next inhale rises to our shins. So here I'm gonna face towards the center. You stay like this on your mat. I'm just gonna face you guys so you can kind of see what I'm talking about if my cueing is a little confusing with this one. So in our shin pose here, let's just find a moment to center. Again, we'll inhale those arms up overhead, palms facing one another. And we'll exhale the palms to our chest. Another big inhale, arms up, shape of the sun. And then we'll exhale to our chest. Okay, so this is a nice lateral stretch I've been doing lately, so I definitely want to throw it in this class specifically. So all you're gonna do is let the hips fall over towards the left. So that left hip bone should for sure be on the ground. That right one's probably kind of floating in space here, but just make sure most of that body weight is over towards our left side. And all we're gonna do is extend that left arm up overhead. Right hand, wherever it feels comfortable. I kind of just like it over here to keep me balanced, but it can be on your knee, it can be behind you, wherever you find comfortable. And just go ahead and extend and straighten out that left arm, rotating the whole arm so the pinky will face the ground and that palm should be facing the back of your space. I'm definitely feeling all through my left side, so hopefully you are too. And try to gaze over towards the sky, so under that left armpit here to keep the chest up. We don't want the chest rounding and crunching in here. We want to keep that expanding. We want to keep it open. Perfect. If you're liking the straight arm, definitely stay like that too. If you want to cactus it, that will help you open the chest up a little bit here too. You can always go back from straightening it to finding that cactus-like shape. And eventually we'll come back to center. So bum back on the heels, and we're just gonna switch on over to the right side. So again, finding that motion with the right hand going towards the left side of the mat. Letting that palm rotate down so it's parallel to the floor. And opening up and breathing into that right side body. I'm a movement freak. I like to move in my classes a lot. So I'm always trying to find little kinks that I can work out while I'm still finding stillness relatively. And then just open up your chest there. Maybe in this cactus position, you really drive the elbow towards the back of your space. Let it open up and scoop in that shoulder blade. Perfect, just a few more rounds. And we'll inhale back to center, so bump to heels. Again, let's inhale those arms up overhead. And we'll exhale those thumbs to our sternum. One more time, inhale, arms up overhead. And this time as we exhale, we'll find our tabletop position. So lifting the hips up, bringing the hips over the knees here, shoulders over the wrist. We'll find some cat-cow positions here too. So inhale, drop the belly. And exhale, round, lower, middle, upper back. Try to combine middle and up. Inhale, drop the belly, shift the gaze. And exhale, round, finding that cat-like position. And of course, following your own breath to movement. So if I'm too fast, if I'm too slow, just continue with what feels good for you. And that also means finding new shapes here. So you don't have to stay in this very traditional cat-cow. You can always try to barrel roll the belly. Maybe you find a little C-spine action on the left and right side. Again, the beauty of practicing at home, you have all the time to experiment. You can pause this if you want to marinate in this pose a little bit more. I'll give us just a few more rounds. Just opening up and creating space within the spine. Last round here. We'll meet in that neutral tabletop position. Go ahead and tuck the toes and lift the hips for downward facing dog. So here, if this is your first downward facing dog of today, definitely take some time to pedal out the heels. So maybe you bend the right leg and then the left, letting one heel touch and then the other. Really visualize melting the chest towards the thigh as you spread out all 10 fingers here. I've been doing a lot of what's been called shake therapy within yoga poses. So what you could do there, well, what that means basically is shaking in static poses to release more tension. So if you want to give that a try, really all you do is kind of lift the heels and bounce them back up and down. So you're just lifting up and down. Maybe you get your shoulder blades into it or your arms rather and kind of push from left to right. Releasing or trying to break up any static tension you may have. Awesome, and we'll come back to that static downward facing dog in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Awesome. So from here, we'll inhale that right foot to the sky. As we exhale, that right foot's gonna find the top of the mat, dropping the left knee, finding Anjaneyasana. So in this low lunge, really drive that left heel back towards the back of the space as you ground into the right toe, or the right big toe. Inhale the arms to frame the ears, and let the hips get heavy as they sink towards the top of your space as well. Keeping the neck nice and long. Big inhale to lengthen, and exhale, settle on in. Now if your arms ever get tired here too, you can always interlace the hands and bring them to the top of the right thigh. And really just push into that thigh to kind of let the hip flexors melt a little bit more into your space. Perfect. Or of course, like I always say, play and experiment with a few options there. Inhale the arms up overhead. Then as you exhale, you'll extend the right leg, keeping the heel on the ground, flexing the right toes towards the face, finding half splits. So here in your half split position, like I mentioned, just make sure those right toes are flexed towards the face. You don't want this leg to not be active. And just find the space that you have. So I don't want you folding and hunching. Don't sacrifice the length of the pose just to find more depth. I want you to lead with your chest. So inhale, lengthen out the spine. And as you exhale, leading with that chest, go ahead and fold. Oh, and this would be a perfect time for blocks. Blocks under both hands, water bottles, pillows, whatever you have accessible to you. If the ground is really far away today, go ahead and place something under both hands. And just come back into your own stillness, your own breath here for a few rounds. Really opening up and feeling it within the hamstrings here. Awesome. Now we're going to inhale back into that lunge. We'll go from half splits to lunge a few just to get some movement going on. So inhale the arms up overhead. Exhale, straighten that front leg. If you want to play with your balance, keep the hands up. Again, inhale into that lunge. And exhale, straighten. Last one here, let's inhale back into that lunge. We're going to find a Funky Warrior 2 variation. So kind of just stick with me here. We'll start in this lunge. We're gonna pivot the left foot so it's kind of going off the right side of the mat. Now that right hand's gonna come right in front of the inner edge blade of the right foot, and you'll extend that left arm up overhead. Perfect, so still in that lunge variation, we just have a funky left foot going on. And just using the the right bicep rather, to push into the right knee, and that will open up a little bit within the hips as well. Perfect, just a few more rounds. Big inhale here. Maybe you drive that left hand up overhead so you find a nice added stretch within the left side here too. Gazing up towards the sky. Last inhale here. And exhale. Your next inhale, you'll unwind back into that lunge-like position. And then our half split once more. Perfect. Now we'll tuck that back toe, lift the hips, and we'll find a runner's lunge here just for a moment. So both hands will be inside the right foot. And again, just play with some movement. So drive off those back left toes. Maybe you bring that right knee over the right foot, and then you push that left heel back into space. Again, we won't be here for too long. Maybe just find a static runner's lunge. I know I like that sometimes too. With a static runner's lunge, I just visualize my collarbones kind of pushing up over the mat here. And just breathing with that long, straight spine. Perfect. Well, exhale and bring that right foot back to meet the left, finding downward facing dog. Of course, I'm not cueing any vinyasas for the slow flow class, but by all means, if you're wanting that or if it's calling to you, go ahead and do so right now. We'll be in downward facing dog for a few rounds here if you want to work through a vinyasa. If you're kind of hanging out here in downward facing dog, go ahead and find that static downward facing dog. Or you can play with lifting the heels, bending the knees to lengthen out the spine, shaking the butt. Awesome. Okay. Back to our downward facing dog. We'll work that in our left side. Inhale that left foot towards the sky. Then as you exhale, that left foot will find the top of the mat. You'll drop that right knee. Again, finding our Anjaneyasana pose. Did I just say pose, Anjaneyasana pose? I don't think so. Thoughts that go through my head sometimes. Inhale as you drive the fingers towards the sky. Let that right hip get heavy here. Toes tucked or untucked, it doesn't really matter. I naturally always find my toes tucked, so it's kind of where I always land here. Again, arms heavy, go ahead and interlace and push them towards the left thigh. There's really no rules here, just find what feels good and comfortable for you. I always like to say, or I have been saying, recently in my in-person classes, I'm just inspired to see other people on their mat doing their thing. So by all means, find what feels good for you within my classes that I'm guiding you through, and just make sure, you know, it's working out for you here. Perfect. Inhale back up. And we'll exhale again, finding that half split. So let that left heel stay on the ground. Flex those left toes back towards the face. And again, our rule of thumb, keep that spine nice and straight before you fold. Hips squared towards the top of the mat, and hips stay above the knees here. Parallel with the knees. And fold. Crown of the head driving towards the front as you push everything else back in space. It's a few more rounds. Perfect. We'll inhale back into our lunge here. And again, we'll go from that lunge to half split movement we have going on. So inhale in that lunge. Your exhale will bring you to your half splits. That inhale is going to lunge you back in. And exhale, drive those hips back. Big inhale here, arms up towards the sky. Last exhale here as we extend that left leg. Inhaling back into our lunge for a moment. Then we're going to find that warrior two variation. So go ahead and pivot that right foot now outside of the left edge of the mat. And then that left hand will kind of come in the inner arch of the left foot. And we inhale that right arm up towards the sky. Finding that nice stretch here. Like I said, you can always extend that left hand over towards the front of your space as well, and that will really extend the left side of the body. Gaze can be wherever feels good. I personally like kind of gazing towards the bottom hand here. Maybe you cactus that right arm as well, straightening it back out. Perfect. Be here for about 2 more rounds. Big inhale, equal exhalations. Last inhale here. And we'll exhale back to that runner's lunge. So go ahead and tuck those back toes. And kind of go wherever feels good for you, whatever's calling for you today. So if you like kind of playing with your hips in space, so pushing them forward and pushing them back, by all means, go ahead and do that here too. You might find yourself in a modified pyramid. If you're liking just a still runner's lunge, nothing wrong with that. Love a good runner's lunge. You can always just keep those fingertips to the ground or on a block and drive those collarbones over towards the front of your space. Perfect. And again, a few rounds, so go ahead and play if you're feeling playful. Maybe you close your eyes if you're finding a static runner's lunge. Also a added wrist stretcher here too if those palms are flat onto the ground. Okay, so from here, instead of that downward facing dog, we're gonna push off this back right foot to a forward fold. So just a gentle hop to the top of your space. You'll inhale, halfway lift, exhale, fold. Again, inhale, halfway lift, flat spine, and exhale, fold. Finding a micro bend in the knee here, grabbing opposite elbows for ragdoll. My favorite pose to let gravity do the work. Let gravity get your torso heavy. Just picture driving the crown of the head towards the ground and finding equal weight within both feet. A nice, generous bend is always welcomed here in our forward folds. Perfect. Coming back to center, release the left hand in front of the left foot. Inhale and peel open the right hand towards the sky, bending in the left leg here. Finding a nice twist. Awesome. Switching sides. Bring that right hand in front of the right foot. Inhale and extend that left hand up towards the sky. Nice bend in the right knee. Shifting that way over towards the right. And exhale back to center, finding your forward fold. Okay, we'll release the hands towards the ground. Big inhales, we root to rise. Arms up overhead, palms to touch. And we'll exhale our hands to heart center. Beautiful. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, arms up overhead. And exhale, hands to heart center. And down to our sides. Take a moment here. Let the palms face towards the front of your mat. Roll the shoulder blades down. Come back to your own breath here. Come back to that present moment. Beautiful. That next inhale, you'll rise those arms up overhead. And then we'll exhale to fold once more, hinging at those hips. We'll inhale, halfway lift, and exhale, bring the heels up if you can. We're simply gonna just find a seat onto the mat, but this is kind of a fun way to experiment with. So if you have those heels high, feet still on the ground, go ahead and let the hips shift over towards the heels. Now, if you're here with me with hips high, let's just take a moment. Bring the hands to heart center. And then exhale those heels down. Maybe that bum stays up for a moment. Really extend those arms out to kind of play with your center of gravity here. And then when you are ready, that bum will hit the mat and you'll eventually find yourself lying on your back. All right, on our back here, let's let's bring the knees into our chest for a gentle hug. The best way to massage the lower back here. And then we'll find happy baby. So go ahead and grab outer edge blades of both feet here. Drive the knees to the ground, making those thighs maybe parallel to the ground or parallel-ish. That's just simply the direction to think of, the knees going and the thighs. You can be static here. You can sway from side to side. Really pushing the tailbone into the ground, removing that arch, or the arch in the lower back to be more specific. Perfect. Now you can stay here, or simply because I was going to do a seated wide leg forward fold, but I personally hate going from my back to a seat, so we'll just do it on our backs. So if you want to try it this way, go ahead and bring those peace fingers and bring them over the big toes. And you're just going to extend the legs out straight, or straight-ish, whatever is straight for you today or ever. And really kind of the same feeling or movements that you'd get in a seated wide leg forward fold. And this is kind of an added benefit to kind of keep moving and keep swaying. Maybe you close your eyes here for a moment. Just really feeling it within the hamstrings. Maybe the inner thigh, inner groin area. And then when you are ready, we will bring the feet to touch for legs up the wall. So the hands will fall out towards the edges of the mat. And what I want us to do here for a little bit is just roll out the ankles. Get those cracks out. I swear it could be 6 a.m., 6 p.m., 3 p.m. I'm always rolling out cracks in my ankles, so it's never a bad thing to do. And then we will bring the knees into the chest. One more gentle hug. Maybe the chin reaches up towards the knees. Then as you exhale, let's have those knees fall over to the left as we gaze over our right here. So just a nice recline supine twist. Hips heavy, shoulder blades, try to glue them towards the mat. If gazing over your right is not working for you today, you can go ahead and gaze towards the sky. Let that palm flip up and face the sky here as well. Added assistance with the left hand over the right thigh here, or probably on your right knee, to help lengthen out this twist. So as we inhale, we're lengthening out this side body. Then when you exhale, think of that as an invitation to try to squeeze out some more air and twist a little bit deeper. Beautiful, 2 more rounds. Last one here. Exhale it out. Let's inhale back to center. Just for a moment, and then we'll exhale those knees over towards the right, and we're gonna gaze over that left hand. So again, I'm always using whatever hand is not on the ground as an added assistant. So instinctively, my right hand will always end up on my left knee here just to have some extra weight in this twist. It feels really yummy. And just keep that gaze. Whether it's towards the sky or over the left hand, maybe you find a moment of peace here and close the eyes for our last few rounds. Two more rounds. Biggest inhales, equal exhales. Last inhale here, and we'll exhale. Your next inhale will bring us back to center. And then we are gonna go to Savasana, but I wanted to offer an added like hip opener in Savasana. So if you're not about that and you wanna just take up space, extend the arms and legs out, go ahead and absolutely be my guest. If you wanna try your Savasana for a little bit with this added hip opener, all you're gonna do is let the soles of the feet touch, let those knees splay out wide over the edges of the mat. And eventually, as you continue to sit here before we kind of close out our practice, naturally the hips are going to open up here, so no work is required of you. You can start this for a few moments and then extend the legs out, or just kind of do what feels good for you here. When I'm here, I like to place one hand on my chest and the other on my tummy, so I can just notice the rise and the fall of my chest and my stomach as I inhale and exhale. So that's kind of my spule for our resting pose here. So go ahead and find what's calling for you today. And then once you get there, we'll take a collective breath together. So big inhale again, expand the chest, expand the side bodies, let the collarbones lengthen out. Exhale it all away, pushing away. Perfect. Now feel free to come back to your own pace of breath, keeping the eyes closed, and we'll find our final resting pose here. So just do a quick body scan. So let the feet get heavy, the knees, hips, shoulder blades off and away from the ears, grounding into this beautiful space, this beautiful mat, wherever you are today. Taking that tongue off the roof of your mouth. Maybe you give yourself a little poke in between the third eye, in between the brows, to make sure that third eye is relaxed. And take these next few minutes to yourself. Now start to bring in small movements, very small movements. So just start with moving the fingertips, maybe flexing the toes, pointing and flexing the feet perhaps. Taking a bigger inhale in to wake up that body. Just a normal exhale here. Eventually, maybe you find a nice good morning stretch. So you extend the legs out long and you push the arms, the hands up overhead. Perfect. Now, if you do feel called to do so, you can roll to the right or left side. Or if you are ready to come up to that seated position here with those eyes closed, go ahead and do so now. We'll bring the palms to touch. And we'll take one more breath in for those who may not be seated yet to catch up, and for those who are seated to get prepared to close out the practice. Beautiful. Let's do one more big inhale here. Exhale, let it go. Thank you, as always, for joining me into this practice, letting me guide you, letting me in your homes. It's always an honor to have this opportunity to connect with you all. So we'll inhale those palms to our third eye. The light in me definitely sees and bows to the light in each and every one of you. Namaste. All right, thanks guys. Thanks like you're here, but thanks for watching. Yeah, so like I said, I'm hoping to be back in the swing of things. I definitely have missed making videos for you guys and getting my flows out there for everybody to see. So if you like this, leave a comment, like, subscribe. If you have any questions, any suggestions of flows or issues that you're having within your body, don't hesitate to reach out to me. YouTube, Instagram. I do have a Facebook page as well. So lots of ways to communicate with me. I look forward to talking to you guys and seeing you on your mat again. Peace.